Week 3 of college football is in the books, and there were some great games. I'm looking at you, Syracuse and Purdue. That was a banger, one nasty fourth quarter, and we got to show a little love to Troy and Appalachian State. The Hail Mary deflection to go ahead touchdown for the Mountaineers. It was a wild one, but we're here to talk about some of the draft eligible prospects. How did they fare this week? Did they help their stock? Did they hurt their stock? Is their stock going up? Is it going down? This is the stock report. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So I stumbled on the intro, but it is what it is, and it's A-okay. Regardless, you're going to become a bro and subscribe. You're going to leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. And let me know what you think in the comment section below, where we have that nice, beautiful football discourse. I am only going to put 10 guys on this list. I will talk about some of the prospects in those games and such. But let me know who you think should have been included or who you want talked about. But let's start the list with that Syracuse-Purdue game with Charlie Jones, who had a banger game. He's having a banger season for Purdue in general, and his name has popped up quite a bit the past few weeks up in my comment section. So let's talk about Charlie, who lit up a legit NFL prospect in Garrett Williams quite a few times. We'll be talking about him next, but let's talk about Charlie Jones, because he's got actually quite the interesting backstory, because he is actually one of the older prospects in this class. Here we go, gotta find him. He was actually a 2-star recruit out of the 2017 class, where he went to Buffalo. He then redshirted and saw very minimal action in 2018. And then he decided to transfer to Iowa, had to sit out the season because the old NCAA transfer rules, and was really just the returner for Iowa, though in 2021 he was a bit of a starter. And now, as a graduate transfer, goes to Purdue, and he is lighting it up. This guy, for all intents and purposes, he is kind of a man among boys. This dude's a very good route runner. Like, he does a very good job, I think, of finding the soft spots in zone. He's a very fluent athlete. Like, just him catching the football and going is all one motion. He tracks the ball extremely well. He adjusts his body well to the passes, and he won't sit back. Like, he'll come back to the quarterback. If his quarterback's scrambling or in trouble, he'll come back to the pass, and he's shown very good hands, the ability to catch in traffic. See why a lot of people like him, and that return ability. Best believe he's going to get, this is a guy that's going to be a body in camp, but I don't think he's draftable just because of the age and what he's done through his career. He's been very limited. Really, it's just he's been a really good return man. Now he's lighting it up, because I guess it all clicked, it all figured out, but he's not explosive. He doesn't have high end, like I would say, NFL speed or speed for the position. I don't think he offers too much after the catch, like in terms of taking on contact. He just doesn't have that physicality. Like, he could probably put some more mass on the frame, and I'd feel better. Like, he's a good contested catcher, but I'd feel better about him going up and trying to contest the catch point, because he doesn't necessarily always high point the football if it's contested by the defender. But again, this dude, he's got limited upside, an older prospect, but like just a really good receiver who I think will be a camp body. So there, we talked about him. Now let's talk about the other side of the ball with Garrett Williams, who had a rough day at the shop for his draft stock, as he allowed 8 receptions for 168 yards and a TD. Like, Charlie Jones had a day against Garrett Williams. Now, does this take Garrett Williams out of, like, for, I guess, first round contention or in the top of this quarterback or cornerback class? I don't think so, because, well, fun fact, like, the corners haven't really showed out thus far this year. Outside of Keely Ringo, like Cam Smith now just coming, like, he had a concussion, so he couldn't play this last week against Georgia, which probably would have been a very important game for his draft stock. Guys like Tony Grimes and Storm Duck have struggled. Like, Joey Porter, he's kind of emerged, but like Eli Ricks struggling to see the field for Alabama. You look at this corner class and there's questions. So like Garrett Williams, at least with his skill set, the guy has a knack for getting his hand on the football. And okay, tough game, and really like it all, unfortunately, it was like one bad quarter of play from him. I'm not willing to write him off just yet. This guy is still pretty darn good, especially in a cornerback class that we got some question marks. Now going to the defensive side of the football with Yaya Dayabi out of Louisville. He had one heck of a game against Florida State, especially after Robert Scott had to leave the game. Not that he was doing much when he was in the game. Yaya was still going to town. 3 sacks, 7 pressures. Fun fact, he's actually a JUCO transfer from Georgia Military College, and it was the left tackle for Louisville, who actually also got hurt in this game. A lot of injuries in this Louisville-Florida State game. Again, RIP to my boy Jared versus draft stock. Not necessarily his draft stock, but if it's a long-term injury, that dude's probably going to have to come back next year. He is I believe he is a like third-year senior. He's a junior, but third-year senior because of the whole Rona bull crap. But there's a good chance if he has to miss extended time, he's probably coming back. But yeah, it's pretty darn good. And I was talking about Trevor Reed. There we go. Boy, I really danced around the point. Trevor Reed, left tackle, again, who got hurt in this game. He was at Georgia Military College, decided to transfer to Louisville, and he took part in the recruit. And actually, Yaya was recruited heavily by teams such as Tennessee and Florida State. Look at that, coming back to haunt you. Think of that. You could have had Yaya and you could have had Jared verse. That would have been a sick, a nasty. Now, I get why I'll get why people come around to him. Older prospect, great length, knows how to use his hands extremely well, and he's extremely violent. He wins with a lot of grit. He never backtracks from where the football's at. He does a good job getting back in the play and get into the ball carrier, or if it's the quarterback. He has this nasty spin move. If he gets stuck on blockers, gets engaged and can't break free. He's got a pretty good spin move. I think he uses his hands exceptionally well. But older prospect, limited athlete though. Like, it's not like he's not that quick. He's not that explosive. He's doesn't have great pursuit speed. So a guy that I could probably see being like a very situational pass rusher when it comes to the NFL, but good size and definitely a draftable skill set. And a big game for Yaya here. Gosh, I love that name. Yaya. All right, on to Grayson McCall. And this isn't necessarily a stock up, stock down for Grayson McCall. It's just I haven't really talked about Grayson McCall a ton on this channel, and he's always listed in the comments. And I decided, especially this year, where this is not even a down year for him, but it feels like it's like that Coastal Carolina team. Like, they're a sketchy 3-0 right now, like real sketch 3-0. They've almost had multiple losses this season. But I figured, hey, this is probably the best time. Let's talk about Grayson McCall and what I think about him, because I see him as a mid-day 3 to late-day 3 quarterback. I don't see him being a highly drafted quarterback. And I really see him actually returning this year, as he has another year of eligibility. I see him probably sticking as long in college as he wants to. Let's talk about the good one, McCall. Dude, he operates that offense to a T, and he possesses, or at least he processes the field extremely quickly. He never lingers on one read for too long. He throws with good precision from the pocket. He's very comfortable inside the pocket, but he'll step in there and deliver and make a throw. But we know this guy's mobile, man. This guy can extend the play with his legs. He maneuvers the pocket exceptionally well, and he does a good job when scrambling, resetting his feet so he can deliver a precise ball. However, McCall just has a noodle of an arm. He just does. It lacks zip. He lacks zip on his throws. They can be a bit everywhere, like the ball placement downfield, and the touch isn't the best. The balls will sail on him on 20+ yards. And I mean that you saw at least last year we saw a ton of acrobatic catches from the likes of Isaiah Likely and oh my gosh, I can't remember who his other receiver was because I really liked him during the draft process and he went undrafted. He looked really good at the East West Shrine Bowl. Good route runner. Can't think of his name at the moment, but we saw players kind of like compensate for McCall's, like, dude's got playmaking ability, but he doesn't always put the ball where it needs to be. I know, look, Gojo's sad because he's a big fan of the mullet. I'm sorry, Gojo. I'm sorry. When he can't set his feet, like his accuracy falls off a cliff. It's even worse. And he doesn't necessarily, I would say, put his pass catchers in good spots where they can make plays after the catch. Like, I mean, if we're just going to look at the Chanticleer's offense, it's not translatable to the NFL, and there's questions about his level of competition, though he has turned up in big games. For me, Grayson McCall, though, we're talking about him 5th, 6th, 7th round. That's when we talk about Grayson McCall. I know there's a lot of people that like McCall. I like McCall. I like him in college, and I think he's gonna be one of those guys that tries to stick in college for a couple of more years. And what surprised me, because I assume from Rona he's gonna get an extra year of eligibility, so we might not see him till 2025. So that's my opinion on him. Let me know what you think. I'm kind of scared to see what the comment section will look like after this. All right, on to Tyler Van Dyke. Listen, if you love Grayson McCall and I accidentally crapped on your favorite quarterback, well, let me go ahead and crap on my favorite team's quarterback. Tyler Van Dyke had a rough go at it in the Texas A&M game. He wasn't helped out a lot. Like, first off, let's talk about the Miami Texas A&M game. It starts off with a bad muff putt that led to a touchdown. Miami's down 10-3 early, and his receivers proceeded to then drop the football. And this isn't even a theme that's just this game. Like, 8 drops in this game from his receivers. If you look at the Southern Miss game, they had 11 drops. He's not getting help from his receivers. He does not have playmakers there at the receiving position, unfortunately. Like, the loss of Charleston Rambo is kind of huge now looking back in hindsight. He also lost Hardy, too. Van Dyke, though, it's not like to say he wasn't at fault, because this was a cat that would be... His ball placement wasn't great all the time. To be fair, like, Miami was getting stuck in 3rd and longs all night, but the ball placement could have been better. There was one ball down deep that if he just put a little more under it, a little more touch, then it would have been a huge gain. There was one on a 3rd down that could have been converted, but it was a catchable ball, but he essentially led his receiver too much. Though it still was catchable for the receiver, it could have been placed better. So Tyler Van Dyke didn't entirely, look the part of what we were hoping in terms of a first-round quarterback. Does that take the wind out of his sails? Is he no longer a first-round quarterback? I wouldn't necessarily say that, because this quarterback class, like, if you're not Stroud, if you're not Young, or even if you're not Tanner McKee, because I thought Tanner McKee's been playing well, then you've kind of struggled. Like, Devin Leary's had his spots. Phil Jakovic is just talking himself out of being draftable. Cameron Ward just doesn't look ready yet. As we've seen him just getting acclimated to a higher level of play. It's not all been great. Not say it's all been bad, though. It's kind of been so-so. It's like, okay, this guy looks like someone who's taken a step up in competition. So, like, and we'll talk about a couple of the other quarterbacks later in this list, but I just want to throw that out there. Like, right now for me, man, if I'm in the first round, there's really only 3 guys I think I'm looking at that I feel confident in, and it's Young, Stroud, and McKee. Now, moving on to Isaiah Foskey. Now I had to pull up the Maryland or the Marshall pitcher, right? I had to go rub it in his face because he was very quiet in that Marshall game, at least in terms of being a pass rusher. He wasn't very disruptive against the pass, though I thought he did a solid job against the run. However, this week against Cal, steps up, wearing the nice green, looking good, and steps up big, 8 pressures, a sack. It's like finally, it looks like it's clicking. And like in the first game against Ohio State, like I thought he had a good back and forth with Paris Johnson, which ultimately I think Paris Johnson came out on top in, but there was times where he beat Paris Johnson. Like Isaiah Foskey, we know what he's capable of. We know he's got a decent first step. We know he's got great length. We know the high floor because of how good he is as just a run defender. So it's like looking at him and actually seeing him emerge, because a big reason he came back is because the consistency wasn't all there last year. It's nice to see, okay, he explodes in this game. Can you do this now for the remainder of the year? Because much like I was talking about with corner and with quarterback, like after I would say a Miles Murphy and a Will Anderson, which you could even argue Miles Murphy's been pretty quiet this year thus far. But after those two guys, really, I think the edge class, it's a little sketch, especially with a guy like Jared Verse going down to injury. And then there's going to be questions with Andre Carter. What will since he's in the Army, what will his service look like? He's still a bit of a raw prospect, so there's questions, and there's this big hole. Like, who's going to be that next edge rusher to come and emerge and be like, I'm a first rounder? Dang it, Foskey, this is your opportunity. Get it, boy, get it. All right, on to Michael Penix. We're back at the quarterback position. This is going to be a quarterback-heavy show, believe it or not, because I was getting hit up a couple of times about Michael Penix. I know he was a hot name last year until Indiana just, crapped the bed in the opener. But Penix has had a really good start to the year. But let's read some background with him, because there's legit concerns when it comes to his health. So, formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2018 class. Fun fact, he actually played center fielder in baseball and also took part in the long jump and the 200 meters. So, he's got some speed to him. He really does. But he redshirted his first season at Indiana, and typically it's you play 4 games and you redshirt. Well, in the midst of playing his 4 games, he faced Penn State, and he ended up tearing his ACL, season-ending injury. Go on to 2019, played in the first 6 games before suffering a season-ending sternocleidomastoid injury. I'm just going to put what the word is. I'm unfamiliar. But anyway, it ended up being a season-ending injury. Then 2020, played 6 games, another ACL injury. 2021, played the first 5 games, separated his shoulder, ended his season. He is, since being in college, every year has ended with a season-ending injury. Yeah, you get around that 5. If I'm watching it, we get around that 5 to 6 game mark, I'm getting a little antsy. I'm getting a little scared. Will we have our quarterback? You saw what happened last year when they didn't have anything on offense. So, I bet you they're hoping, Penix can stay healthy. But this dude has an NFL arm. This dude has a good arm, and he can spray it all over the field. He's actually got really good ball placement downfield, shows good touch on passes down the field on 20-plus yards. He throws with good anticipation and precision over the middle and underneath. He's really at his best when he can just sit in the pocket, but he can maneuver that pocket well, and he prefers to work inside a structure. But like I said, the dude can move. He can extend play with his legs. He can maneuver out of the pocket. He could honestly pick up gains with his feet if he needs to. However, injuries going to be a big concern with him. But this guy's mechanics are all over the place. This dude, he's very similar, if you remember, Brendan Armstrong, Virginia, where both those guys, they throw with no hip rotation. They're literally throwing with their whole upper body. They could get so much more zip, so much more control if they could just whip those hips around. And even like, dude, the mechanics issues goes to his lower body too, because the footwork isn't always clean. There's times on his drop backs, he's clacking his heels. So the NFL, like, they're going to look at this guy as a big project, big developmental guy that has an NFL arm, but mechanics are all over the place and has a scary injury history. Right now, I got him as a late day 3, and I think that might be the ceiling given the injury history and such. But let's watch him play out the rest of the year. Again, a lot can turn around, as we've said. Like, a lot of the quarterbacks thus far in this class haven't really done anything much to help their stock. And we'll talk about one stock down at the end. But let's keep rolling with Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. If you don't know, now you know. A lot of people were high on this guy. He had some sticky coverage at Colorado, transfers to Oregon, and he has been great for Oregon. He only allowed a reception this past week, 2 pass breakups. And like I said, I was talking about this corner class where a lot of guys, they're having rough games or they're just not emerging. If your name's not Keely Ringo, then I don't know who cornerback 2 is, you know? I think Christian Gonzalez could be that guy. Like, I love this dude in man coverage. He sticks into the hip pocket of anyone he's guarding. A lot of people talked about this cat as a watch out for him, man. Watch out. I think he's going to be a big riser. He made Bruce Feldman's Freaks list. Dude's a wonderful athlete. And honestly, I think there's a good case for him to be cornerback 2 in this class. I thought I didn't say the word cornerback correctly. They get they get Washington State this week, so that's a game he's probably going to be targeted a lot. We'll see how he plays, but again, a corner class that it's kind of wide open after Keely Ringo. Christian Gonzalez, I think, could fill that void there. Again, we're looking at this class and we're talking about like, oh man, we know like who are the top 2 or top 3 or top 1 prospect in this position, but who's that next guy up? There's a hole there that needs to be filled, and for the corner class, I think it's Christian Gonzalez. Going on to also someone that has been talked about by a few guys. I think Alex from Hail Mary Sports. I know the NFL Stock Exchange has talked about him, but Olu Shiu out of Penn State, the left tackle, redshirt sophomore, I believe, and this cat's been tearing it up. They're gonna love, like the NFL is gonna love him as a pass blocker. That's really what he's the best at. Let's go ahead and just like, he had a good game this week against Auburn. I think he only allowed a pressure. He did get called for a penalty. Can't remember what it was for though specifically. But in terms of where the dude's just not a good run blocker yet. And I don't know if he doesn't have that finishing mentality that the NFL loves. He doesn't work with good leverage as a run blocker and really just relies, like, he has really good contact balance, stays on his feet, even when guys put hands on him. But just want to see more in the run game when it comes to him. I think that's going to be the big hiccup for a lot of people when it comes to Fashanu. So that and the sample size. He's a first-time starter. Like, this year is his first time starting, though he's looked really good. Like, this dude has ideal length, ideal size, ideal athleticism. He throws haymakers in pass protection. He's got an immovable anchor. Like, he has the total package when we're talking about offensive tackles primed for the NFL. It's just the run game seems to be like the thing that just hasn't clicked for him yet. And to be fair, this is literally, he's 3 games into being a starter. I think it's 3. So let's give it time. Let's see what happens the rest of the season. You have a guy that might not even come out, but we'll see, man. I could see why a lot of people got excited about Fashanu. And then to end the list, we're going to talk about Will Levis, and might as well pair Anthony Richardson here, because neither of these guys have really been the same since Florida and Kentucky faced each other. And to be fair, I think Levis kind of had a up and down opener too. I can't remember who it was against. But in this past game, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. You want to know who they played? Youngstown State. Sup? Really? Like, Will Levis is just, the decision making's kind of worse than it was last year at the beginning of the year. the processing's not there, and for an older quarterback, you kind of expect things to kind of click. He's playing in a very NFL style offense with a lot of NFL passing concepts, and he's just not going through his reads. He's sitting on reads for too long, and if we're going to talk about this guy as a first rounder, like you got to improve the decision making. Like he's not having like, dude, I at this point, I'd rather have Kenny Pickett and be like, you know what? I'll give up a little bit of arm talent, arm strength to take the consistency that was Kenny Pickett, a guy who would constantly put it in the vicinity of his targets and can make plays with his feet, go through his reads. So like, I can't believe I'm saying that, but because a lot of people think I hated Kenny Pickett, and I did. I really liked Kenny Pickett. I couldn't get behind him as a first rounder. But Will Levis right now, it hasn't been there. For Anthony Richardson, the dude cannot operate inside a structure worth anything. And guess what? That's alarm bells. That's red flags for NFL evaluators. You can't operate out like inside a structure whatsoever. And like the accuracy's now become a legit issue. It's no longer, okay, there are times where, you know, his anticipation's off and he delivers the football late and maybe he sits on a route for too long and still tries to force the throw. Like, no, this past week against South Florida, the accuracy was actually bad. He's not making big time plays. He's committing turnovers. Like, I can see Richardson staying for another year. I don't think Will Levis has that possibility. I think he has to come out, so he's gonna have to turn it around. But like for a lot of people, like when they talked about their top 5 quarterbacks, like I hate this. I would constantly not see Tanner McKee in there, and I love Tanner McKee. I loved him last year when I thought he might come out, but when it came to the 5 quarterbacks, we talked Stroud, we talked Young, and they throw guys like Anthony Richardson, I almost said Kenny Pickett, Will Levis, Tyler Van Dyke, who we talked earlier in this video. And honestly, Van Dyke has looked the best among those 3, and that's not saying much. That ain't saying much. So these guys need to get their act together. It wasn't a good showing. We're in a quarterback class now. It's like you feel good about 2 prospects, and then you feel good about Tanner McKee as maybe a top 20 guy in this class. But it's like it just feels like the quarterback position's kind of wide open, or you're not touching it until like late day 2, somewhere in the 3rd round. That's just kind of where we're at when it comes to this quarterback class. And to be fair, there's a lot of football left. There is a lot of football left, and a lot of things can change. So I'm looking forward to that. And I kind of want to do, actually, while we're here, talking about Kentucky and Youngstown State. Am I even saying that right? Youngstown. If you remember Marcus Hooker, or at least if you probably know Malik Hooker, who played for the Colts, now plays for the Cowboys, former first-round pick. His brother plays for, here he is. His brother plays for Youngstown State. Because he got kicked. I think he got kicked out of Ohio State, or maybe they went their separate ways. But fun fact, he actually kind of had a good game there against Kentucky, and he was playing in the slot. Played in the slot a majority of the time. That's currently where he's playing for Youngstown State, and he only allowed 1 reception for 0 yards. He had 3 tackles. He looked okay. Apparently he's done pretty all right this season, but I don't think anything that'll make him draftable if you consider the character stuff. But I just wanted to kind of touch on him while we're here, because in all honesty, we're probably not talking about Marcus Hooker the rest of the season. That's kind of how irrelevant he is in this class at this current moment. But I think he has another year of eligibility. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. Let me know who are some of the guys you think should have made the list, or guys you want to talk about. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.